Welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 2463B. And today's date is April 27th, 2021. And the title of the episode is Panic Everywhere. America Deserves the Truth. It's going to be a very hot summer. Let's talk about your health. Did you know collagen comes from the ancient Greek word for glue? This is because it acts as the glue between our cells and our body's organs. The problem is that the body doesn't produce unlimited amounts of collagen. This is why I recommend healthwithx22.com. This multi-collagen is scientifically backed collection of the highest quality types of collagen our body needs for thick hair, more youthful skin, healthier nails, and pain-free joints. It's flavorless, odorless, and dissolves quickly. Get the multi-collagen for 51% off today by going to healthwithx22.com. That is healthwithx22.com, or click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political, and geopolitical news. Now, the Patriots, they are putting pressure on the deep state. There's panic everywhere. You see it all over the fake news. They're trying to tell everyone that this audit, it's not real, it's not valid, it's done illegally. They're panicking like we've never seen before. Why? Because they understand what's going to happen. They understand that once this fraud is brought out into the open and the people see the truth, yes, they're going to fight against it. And I'm talking about the deep state. Yes, they're going to try to use every piece of ammunition to make sure that this doesn't get out. If you notice, they sent lawyers to Arizona. We had a judge recuse himself. We had another judge who was put into place, who worked for Perkins Coie. They're doing whatever they possibly can to stop the audit. But when they can't stop it, when the audit continues as it is, and the information starts to flow out that there was fraud, votes were flipped, Biden cheated, what will they do? They will try to stop the information. This is an information war. They will try to block as much as they possibly can. They'll try to censor as much as they possibly can. The entire world is going to see this. The entire world is going to see the mainstream media, the social media companies, the corrupt politicians try to shut the American people down, to keep them silent, to keep them from speaking out, showing the world the truth. This is what's about to happen. Because once Arizona falls, it goes to the next state and the next state. And as it continues on, it's like an avalanche. People start to wake up. People start to realize, yes, it might have been a conspiracy in the beginning. Crazy people in Arizona thinking that the election was stolen. Well, that conspiracy is going to completely disappear. Take January 6th, for example. Yes, it seemed like the mainstream media, the fake news, had full control. Trump supporters bashed in Brian Sicknick's head with a fire extinguisher, sprayed him with bear spray, died protecting the Capitol. It all turned out to be fake. Actually, all of it was fake. It was planned from the very beginning. Russian collusion, fake. Russia paying bounties to kill American soldiers in Afghanistan, fake. 2 impeachments, fake. All fake. The people, they're going to realize this. Yes, in the beginning, it's going to seem like this is fake. It's a conspiracy. But as more and more states look at what's happening in Arizona, they're going to audit. Then another state's going to audit. And then another state's going to audit. And the world will see the truth. This is going to be a very hot summer. And we can see that the patriots, They are in full control of this entire situation. They're dripping out information. We finally see pictures of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell in the White House with Bill Clinton. Where have these pictures been? Who's been hiding them? Who decided to leak them out at this very moment? The FISA court is now out there reporting that, well, the abuses are much larger than anyone has ever thought. We're starting to see this. We're also starting to see the power of the people. The people are showing Hollywood, the sports organizations, the woke companies that we're not going to take this anymore. Yes, this is a grassroots movement. This is the people learning the truth. This is the people understanding what is happening, and they're coming together and they're joining forces. When Q told us a while ago that the country is going to come together, the country will come together. It might seem like an impossible dream because of what the puppet masters are doing right now. But as the truth continually seeps out, and remember, the propaganda cannot stand face to face with truth and facts. Truth and facts will always win out in the end. Look and listen to everything that you're hearing now. The propaganda in January 6th is starting to fall apart very, very quickly. Everything else that you've known about is falling apart very, very quickly. Election fraud, where there is no such thing as election fraud, the propaganda is going to fall apart very, very quickly. We're going to be talking about the election and where this is going to go. And General Flynn gave us two messages, which we'll play a little bit later. But first, Trump put out a statement about the Oscars. And this is what he said in a statement. What used to be called the Academy Awards and now is called the Oscars, are far less important and elegant name, had the lowest television rating in recorded history, even much lower than last year, which set another record low. If they keep with the current ridiculous formula, it will only get worse, if that's possible. Go back 15 years. Look at the formula they used then. Change the name back to the Academy Awards. Don't be so politically correct and boring, and do it right. Also, bring back a great host. These television people spend all their time thinking about how to promote the Democratic Party, which is destroying our country, and cancel conservatives and Republicans.
Look, I know you're just as sick of these make money online ads as I.
The formula certainly hasn't worked very well for the Academy. And if you go back, and this is from Morning Brew, it says the Oscar viewership through the years. If you go back to 2014, the viewership was 43.7 million. If you fast forward to 2020, it's 23.6 million. Pretty much half of what 2014 was. In 2021, the viewership was 9.8 million people. That tells you everything you need to know. Now, what's very interesting is that we know that Hunter Biden purchased a gun. He also dropped off a laptop with a lot of interesting information on that laptop. We know that he laundered money. We know that he was involved in different schemes in Ukraine, China, and many other areas. And now we have 24 Republican House members. They're asking the ATF, David Chipman, to pledge an investigation into Hunter Biden's alleged false answers on background check form 4473. Now remember, he gave false answers regarding drug use when purchasing a gun in 2018. What does that mean? Does it mean like, oh, you get a slap on the wrist and you get to go along your merry way? No, he broke the law. The penalty for lying on the ATF form include fines up to $250,000 and or 10 years in prison. So we should look over the form, which they're calling for, and they should find out, did he lie? And I do believe they're going to find out that he did. Now, what's very interesting is that information came out from the IRS. Now, the Democratic Party, they always made it seem like they're the everyday working person and they're going to help all those poor people out by giving them stimulus money, by helping them in certain ways, by increasing the minimum wage. But when you look at the IRS data, it shows the Democrats are the party of the wealthy now. They're no longer the poor and middle class people. They are the wealthy. And if you go back to some of the Q posts, how did these people become so wealthy? Insider trading, book deals, you name it. Democrats represent 65% of taxpayers with a household income of $500,000 or more in 2020. And this is according to the IRS data, while 74% of taxpayers in Republican districts have household incomes less than $100,000. Look at Nancy Pelosi. Look at Obama. Look at Clinton. Look at Maxine Waters. Look how much they are worth. Remember, they've been politicians for how long? How did they become so wealthy? How did they build their wealth? Do they own businesses? Or was it done with certain investments, book deals? Did they skim off the top? That's something that needs to be looked into. Now, what's very interesting is that Biden first completed his first 100 days in office, and the Washington Post shut down the presidential fact-checking database. They don't need to fact-check Biden anymore? All the fact-checking is done? Remember, they started this under Trump, and now they don't have to fact-check, because if they did, they'd find out, yeah, they're lying about everything. That's why they're not going to fact-check. Now, it seems that Kerry is in a little bit of trouble here. Remember, there was leaked audio, just so happened to leak out, where Iran's foreign minister...
Stop. Big banks are lying to you. They don't want you to know that you can now get a PPP loan in as little as 60...
Zarif said that John Kerry informed him about Israelis' covert operations in Syria. Now, Kerry is out there, and he tweeted out, "I can tell you that this story and these allegations are unequivocally false. This never happened, either when I was Secretary of State or since." So he's saying that this is completely fake. So what happened here? Kerry, as we know, he was going to Iran and many other places making deals while Trump was president. So John Kerry right now is denying all this, but Ben Rhodes tweeted this out. Republicans pretending to be outraged by John Kerry talking about things that were widely and publicly known at the time is the classic disinformation campaign. Try to launder a lie through sufficient right-wing media outrage to get mainstream media attention. So wait a minute. When he says they were widely and publicly known, well, if they were widely and publicly known, why is John Kerry denying this? That seems kind of odd. He denied saying things that now Ben Rhodes is saying that we commonly know. How could that be? Well, let's go back to post 4,311. Remember when Q gave us a picture of John Kerry walking away? And it says, "Welcome to the shadow presidency of Barack Hussein Obama." Who was he meeting with? Someone from Iran? Yes. Now, what's very interesting with what John Kerry just did, he just boxed himself in a corner. So we have two explanations here. Either John Kerry is lying or Zarif is lying because the tapes say what they say. This isn't some anonymous claim made up by a political enemy or anything like that. This is coming from Zarif from Iran. So Kerry right now, he doesn't get to play both sides. Oh, it's anonymous. Well, I don't know who this is. So if it's true, then Kerry has just backed himself into a corner. He can't simultaneously say not to believe Zarif, while at the same time stumping for a return of Iran deal and lauding his previous work on the front. That extends to Biden's administration as well, because they have chosen to employ Kerry as some kind of climate czar. And if they're not going to fire Kerry, and instead buy his denials here, then they are now in the position of enforcing the assertion that Iran is led by liars who can't be trusted. Do you know what you don't do with liars who can't be trusted? You don't sign a nuclear agreement with them. So which way is Kerry going to go on this? This is very interesting. And actually, Mike Pompeo tweeted this out. Secretary Kerry, can you please explain to the American people why you disclose information about Israeli operations to Iranian Foreign Minister Zarif? We've known for years you were helping him. Americans deserve to know why. Senator Ted Cruz came out and said the following. If this tape is verified, it would signal catastrophic and disqualifying recklessness by Envoy Kerry to Foreign Minister Zarif that endangered the safety of Americans and our allies, and it would be consistent with his long pattern of empowering Iran's regime. Kerry poured hundreds of billions of dollars into the Ayatollah's terrorist bank accounts, was a close confidant with Zarif during the Obama administration, and was caught repeatedly meeting with him during the Trump administration, and has never publicly accounted for what they discussed. It seems like he boxed himself into the corner. Then we come to find out that the Pfizer court is showing more warrantless FBI abuses of NSA database, including search queries for government officials and victims. And this is coming out of the conservative treehouse. It says April 2019 through July 2019, an FBI technical information specialist was involved in compliance incidents by conducting 124 queries of Section 702 acquired information on, number one, volunteers who had requested to participate in the FBI Citizens Academy, number two, persons who needed to enter the field office to perform repairs, number three, persons who reported they were victims of a crime. In other words, the FBI is using FISA-acquired information to investigate domestic crimes, not matters of foreign intelligence. These included investigations of healthcare fraud, transnational organized crime, violent gangs, domestic terrorism involving racially motivated violent extremists, as well as investigation relating to public corruption and bribery. Now, according to Bassberg report, 7 FBI field officers were implicated in these and a number of similar violations. In other words, institutionally, the FBI continues to perform warrantless searches of the NSA database that collects electronic information on every single American. The FBI is exploiting a backdoor into the database using search queries that violate the Fourth Amendment. The FBI is extracting this information for their own personal use, like political use, including surveillance and black files on politicians, and for routine criminal investigations that are supposed to require warrants. Keep in mind, this 2020 review and report encompasses a time frame prior to October 2020. So we can only imagine how many times since the January 6, 2021 Capitol Hill protests, the FBI reached into the NSA database to assist them with their investigation of domestic extremists. So they're continually doing this, and they're using a back door to get this information. There's no warrants, there's nothing. And we can see that this is a lot worse than we actually thought. Now, what else is very interesting is that we know that the audits are going on, not just in Arizona, but in other areas like New Hampshire. And we know the social media companies, they're preparing to censor. Yes, when the information comes out, when the information starts to flow out of Arizona, when they can't shut down the audit, their next step is to block the information. And they're going to do whatever they possibly can to shut it all down so people don't see this. Now, in Florida, the Senate passed a bill to prohibit social media companies from removing political candidates. Companies that violate the prohibition could face fines of $100,000 a day if they deplatform statewide candidates. That's very interesting. And I think every state should do this. But something else very interesting. Let's talk about your health. Did you know collagen comes from the ancient Greek word for glue? This is because it acts as the glue between our cells and our body's organs. The problem is that the body doesn't produce unlimited amounts of collagen. This is why I recommend healthwithx22.com. This multi-collagen is scientifically backed collection of the highest quality types of collagen our body needs for thick hair, more youthful skin, healthier nails, and pain-free joints. It's flavorless, odorless, and dissolves quickly. Get the multi-collagen for 51% off today by going to healthwithx22.com. That is healthwithx22.com, or click the link in the description. Is that in the Wall Street Journal, there was an opinion piece, and it says, "Goodbye, Section 230, hello, a liberty." And it says, "My legislation would protect free expression by treating big tech companies as common carriers, public utilities." That's interesting right there. Let me continue. "For too long, Americans have watched big tech trample on the principles of the First Amendment: free speech, freedom of thought and belief, free assembly, and open exchange of ideas. As more information is filtered through online platforms, the First Amendment is becoming a dead letter. That's why I'm taking action to hold these corporations accountable. Today, I'm introducing the 21st Century Foundation."
Did you know that the average adult has 5 to 20 pounds of toxic poop in their body at any given moment? Seems crazy, right?
For the Right to Express and Engage in Speech Act, or the 21st Century Free Speech Act, which would restore the Bill of Rights, rather than the whims of big companies as the guide for what Americans can say or hear in today's public square. And the article goes on to tell you how this is going to be done. Now, what's very interesting about this is that big tech companies, they might become public utilities. The other part of this is the Bill of Rights, the Internet Bill of Rights, and that reminded me of Post 605. And this says, AT&T, no such agency, contract. Now, no such agency, I know a lot of people think it's NSA. For some reason, I think Q is talking about the Space Force. But let me continue. AT&T, Google, Facebook, etc. prevent unfair censorship push. Internet Bill of Rights. Post 2793. This says chatter uptick. Now, down below, it says 0 day. Countermeasures in place. Think emergency alert system. Think White House controlled new RT News website. Think White House controlled new video stream platform. Think here. Should this occur, immediate steps will be taken to classify each as public utility, essential public services to gain appropriate government regulation control. Now, we've also learned that there were dormant IP addresses from the Department of Defense that came online. We discussed this yesterday and the day before. And we see that there's a company that's separate and apart from AT&T and the big companies that control these IP addresses. It's a company that's controlling millions of IPs. Now, we know that Trump has said that they're preparing to let everyone in on their new platform. And this new platform, the deep state will not be able to censor, take it down, shut it down. So I'm wondering if all this is coming together, because we have a Wall Street opinion piece about public utility, about the Internet Bill of Rights. We have dormant IP addresses coming online. And then we have Judicial Watch. And this is very interesting. They announced today that it received 540 pages and a supplemental 4 pages of documents from the Office of the Secretary of State of California, revealing how state officials pressured social media companies, Twitter, Facebook, Google, and YouTube to censor posts regarding the 2020 election. Now, once this happens, once the government gets involved, Section 230 is out the window. Now, the government is telling a private company who to censor, violating the First Amendment. Now, let me continue. Including in the treasure trove of documents were misinformation briefings, emails that were compiled by communications firm SKDK that list Biden for president as their top client of 2020. The documents show how California state agencies successfully pressured YouTube to censor a Judicial Watch video concerning the vote by mail and Judicial Watch lawsuit settlement about California voter roll cleanup. The records were obtained in a response to Judicial Watch's open records request, and Judicial Watch filed the request after a December 2020 report surfaced that California state agency was surveilling, tracking, and seeking to censor the speech of Americans. Now, do you think this is just happening in one state? Well, we've come to learn that there is a hotline, and we know that other states most likely are doing the same exact thing. Because once one state is brought out into the light that they're doing this, other states are going to be brought out into the light, just like with election fraud. And this means that these companies are not acting on their own. They're taking orders from the government.
Were you recently injured in a car accident? Look at this check for $160,000.
Which is a complete and utter violation of every single person's rights. This is a completely different game now. And if you go back in time, when Q was telling us about the Internet Bill of Rights, about public utilities, about bringing a new system online, did the Patriots know all about this? Did they know that certain government officials were instructing the big tech companies on what to do? I do believe so. And it's funny how this information is coming out now. Now, very interestingly, we see that Oklahoma right now, they have become a Second Amendment sanctuary state. And we're starting to see a lot of states do this, where they're saying, you know something, you can't touch our weapons. And states shouldn't have to do this. We have the Constitution. We have the Bill of Rights. The founding fathers made it very, very clear. We don't need law after law after law to back up the original law. Just follow the original law. We, the people, say this is the law, period. Everything else is meaningless. That's it. Now, it seems that Newsom, he's in trouble. Remember all those signatures that were being collected for his recall? Remember how he wanted signature verification? It's funny, he wanted signature verification for the recall, but he didn't want it during the election. Well, because this affects him. And he wanted to make sure that it was all on the up and up, and it wasn't certain entities trying to push this. So he had this signature verification, and it seems that at least 20% of all signatures gathered were rejected. 20%. But guess what? There were enough valid signatures to start the recall. So he couldn't stop it. Now, in 2020 election, the rejection rate for absentee ballots in California was just 0.6%. Do you really believe that? Absolutely not. Now, what's very interesting with this whole pandemic, we see the CDC, they came out with their new guidance, and they gave a little graph here, and they split it up between vaccinated and unvaccinated people. And basically, they're telling the vaccinated people, now you can go outside without your mask. Well, I hate to tell them, vaccinated and unvaccinated, here in Florida, in Texas, South Dakota, Georgia, and many, many other states, they're already doing this. We're not listening to the CDC. They're not our elected officials. If the CDC today said, listen, if you wear a raincoat, you're protected from radiation, would we believe it? Or would we ask for proof? Basically, what they're doing right now, they're doing something where there is no proof. Have they shown us any evidence that masks work? Because we have plenty of evidence that show that masks don't work. But they haven't shown us anything, have they? Just like stand 6 feet apart. Don't go swimming. Don't go into the sunlight. Actually, it was all the opposite. They're giving us the guidance without the science. And this is a problem because they're just making it up. Actually, if you start reading some of these boxes, they have a little disclaimer on the mask boxes, and they tell you that this mask will not work against viruses. It will not protect you. So why are the mask manufacturers putting this on their boxes? Because they will be held liable. They know it doesn't work. There's been test after test. And now the great state of Tennessee, they were always maskless. But Nashville, and I was there just a couple of weeks ago, in the city, you had to wear a mask. But now it seems that they are going maskless as well.
This revolutionary dental device is giving peace of mind for less than $100. It helps get rid of plaque.
Very, very nice. Actually, we should all just take off our masks. We know they don't work. Let them show us the proof that it does work. Now, what's very interesting is that we know that BLM is pushing their agenda all over the country, and they're taking their orders from the puppet masters, and they're trying to push a division of race, and they're trying to defund the police. Why? Because they have a bigger agenda. They want control of it all. They want it from the top down. But Burgess Owens, he tweeted out something very interesting about Black Lives Matter. And we know that the co-founder, she is purchasing a lot of real estate. But money, he said, was donated by big tech to BLM. Millions. He said money donated by BLM to black communities, 0. That's interesting. So they received millions. The co-founder purchased homes. There are other individuals that were using it for their personal use, and they haven't given back to the communities at all. Where's the money going? To Biden? Yeah, we know it is. Now, it seems that the DHS, they have begun an internal investigation to identify dangerous employees with patriotic perspectives. So why are they doing this? Well, they're doing it for 2 purposes. First, it will identify anyone with nationalist outlooks and or America First ideology. In essence, it will identify the deep state political enemies. Second, it will send a chill through the ranks within all DHS agencies to quiet and dissent to the approved leftist approach. This is essentially putting DHS through the same process previously deployed against the FBI during Robert Mueller and James Comey's teams. Eliminate any and all opposition to the deep state agenda. That's what they're doing right now. Now, what's very interesting is that the whole entire January 6th propaganda message that they were putting out to the American people, where they were telling everyone that the Trump supporters, they used a fire extinguisher to bash in Brian Sicknick's head. They sprayed the fire extinguisher at Brian Sicknick. They used bear spray. All of this is turning out to be fake, phony, and false. Julie Kelly tweeted this out in response to the New York Times article back in March 15th of 2021. So this is the New York Times article. Breaking news. Two men have been arrested and charged with assaulting Brian Sicknick, a Capitol Police officer, with bear spray while storming the Capitol on January 6th. Sicknick died the following day. She replied and said, another lie about January 6th bites the dust. Feds admit bear spray never deployed against Sicknick or other officers. So this entire story by the New York Times is fake. It's propaganda. He died of a stroke. Nobody hit him in the head. The medical examiner already said this. It's completely fake, phony, and false. Now, we know that there's a new judge in town for the Arizona Maricopa County audit. And the other judge recused himself. And this new judge, Judge Daniel Martin, like we said yesterday, was put in place by Janet Napolitano. And it seems that this individual also worked for Perkins Coie as an associate. Now, back then it was called Brown and Bain. And it seems that he is now in charge of all of this. So this individual did not issue a restraining order today after an hour-plus long hearing. The audit in Arizona continues until tomorrow.
Most people think the key to losing weight only has to deal with 2 factors, diet and exercise. But if you're like a million people around the world...
And the judge says he will rule on injunction then. He added that so far he doesn't see proper protection in place for Arizona voter rights. He may enforce the injunction tomorrow. Now, that's very interesting. Why do you think they put him into place? They're trying to stop the information from getting out. And remember, if you watch the fake news media, they are panicking right now. They are in such a deep panic that they're very worried about what is going to come out of Arizona. Now, General Flynn, he was being interviewed by Diamond and Silk, and he explains the way forward and how important the audit is. Take a listen to what he said.
If it happens, if Maricopa County happens in the way that we believe it will, if they expose the truth, then what you're going to see is you're going to see that state, the state of Arizona, and all their electoral votes get flipped back to Donald J. Trump. So what does that mean? That means that now you take that evidence and that result And you now walk into places like Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Georgia. There's even there's a funny little nuance in the state of Nebraska for one, just only one electoral college vote, but that's okay. And places like Nevada. So
would this affect the down ballot votes as well?
Absolutely, and that's a great question. Thank you for raising that. So this could affect, and we believe it will affect the senatorial campaign out in Arizona. So it could flip a Senate seat. It will likely affect potentially a House seat or more. So that's a great component to what it is that we are seeing, because it's not just about Donald J. Trump. It is the down ballot, and frankly, in all these states. So at the end of the day, that's a super important.
This would change everything. And the mainstream media, the fake news, the corrupt politicians, the invisible enemy, they all know this. Remember, optics are very important. This had to come from the people. And Trump put out this statement about the audit. He said the radical left Democratic Party has gone absolutely insane in fighting the forensic audit of the 2020 presidential election scam, right now taking place in the great state of Arizona. They sent a team over of 100 lawyers to try and stop it because they know what the result of the Arizona Senate-sponsored audit will be. And it won't be good for the Dems. The audit is independently run with no advantage to either side, but the Democrats don't want to hear anything about it because they know they lost in Arizona and other scam election states in a landslide, and he capitalized landslide. They also know that the Arizona state legislature approved virtually none of their many election requests, which is totally unconstitutional. The people of Arizona are very angry, as are the people of our country. If we can't have free and fair elections, we don't have a country. The audit must continue. America deserves the truth. And this is what the deep state is trying to do. They're trying to keep the truth from the American people. But the people are going to continue to push on. The patriots are going to fight. And General Flynn sends a message letting us know it's going to be all right.
Yeah, I would just tell everybody to make sure that you realize that you're not alone out there around the world, or certainly in the United States of America. There are people out there fighting for everybody, for every freedom that we have. So don't worry about it. We're going to be okay. Just keep up the good work and keep helping us out in any way you can. So God bless you all, and God bless America.
The patriots are not going to stop fighting until the truth is out there. Remember, the truth, facts, they will destroy all propaganda. The propaganda of election fraud. Remember, right now, the mainstream media, the fake news, the corrupt politicians, they're telling everyone that it's a conspiracy theory that there's election fraud. It doesn't exist. This is what they're trying to use to convince everyone. Remember, it's propaganda. And once the truth comes out, once the audit is complete.
Got business receipts? Snap them on the fly.
And once the information starts to flow out, the propaganda starts to fall apart, just like in January 6th with Brian Sicknick and the rest. It all starts to fall apart. And people start to question this. The mainstream media, the social media companies with all their labels and everything they were putting on the tweets and everything else, all the censorship, that was to keep people from knowing the truth. Yes, they're going to start to realize this. And this is when the deep state, they're going to go into overdrive to try to stop it all. Will we see a communication blackout? Most likely. But the Patriots have a plan. Actually, Dan Scavino, he tweeted out a tweet which had Chuck Schumer sitting in front of a TV. He was supposed to be watching the Academy Awards, having a plant-based beer thanks to Biden, whatever that meant. And someone else decided to change this picture and added in Trump dancing. Now, Scavino, he put this up at 9:49. So if we go back to post 9:49, it says the following: trust the plan, full control. The Patriots are in full control. Everything that we're witnessing is to trap the deep state and to destroy their system. Because I wouldn't be surprised if Trump's platform comes online, guarded by the IP addresses. Then we have the fake news trying to control the situation. Twitter, YouTube, Facebook and the rest. They won't have anyone left on their platform that's actually putting out the truth. They'll just have the other people on there, and the rest of the people will go someplace else. More and more people will look at it and see the information. Nothing can stop this. Nothing. The Patriots have planned this out from the beginning. This is about destroying their system, exposing the lies, exposing what the social media companies have done, what the fake news has done, what the corrupt politicians have done, what Hollywood has done, what the sport institutions have done. This is about bringing all of this into the light so people can see the truth without people being censored, without people saying, well, that's a conspiracy. Conspiracy no more, because the truth, the facts, are going to shatter the propaganda. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially